From the St. Francis Yacht Club in San Francisco, this is the Wednesday Yachting Luncheon, hosted by Ron Young.
The NROTC scholarship, Big Picture, is a full tuition scholarship that people can apply for. While you're also in the program, you will be receiving stipends. And as I previously said, there's going to be a lot of courses and different things that you're going to be doing in addition to just going to school. So the Navy has a big strict compliance on academic and character as you're proceeding and progressing through the program. The ultimate goal of the program is to commission as a naval officer and then go out into the fleet and serve our nation. We will get into some of the obligations later on, but as you're in the program, you have a few different options, as you can see on the bottom here. You can go into surface warfare, which is essentially being on a ship. You can go into submarines, which is pretty self-explanatory. You can select aviation, which is the pipeline that I chose when I graduated at Morehouse College. You can go into EOD, or explosive ordnance, SEAL, as well as the nursing corps as well. We're just going to talk a little bit about the nursing corps. It's a very popular option for a lot of people. As you're going through the nursing corps, you will have the opportunity to earn a full bachelor's in science and nursing and commission into the nursing corps. One of the unique things about that particular program, if you were to select the nursing corps, is that you do not have to take some of the more technical classes. So they just require you to become a nurse, and then after you're done with that, you just go into the nursing corps. Pretty self-explanatory. There's a logo for the nursing corps. And then these are the hospitals where the nursing corps options are located. So as somebody who goes into the nursing corps, when they commission, these will potentially be some of their locations that they can be stationed at. I myself have been stationed a few places, but I've visited a few of these locations, and they're all very beautiful, especially Naples, Italy. As previously stated, with this being a full scholarship opportunity, you may be wondering what schools are located with NROTC. They're pretty much at every school that I can think of. There's Berkeley has a program, Stanford has a program. If they're not directly on the campus, they usually have a satellite program that they are connected to. So for instance, my school did not have one. However, Georgia Tech did, and then we just kind of were a crosstown unit with Georgia Tech. So there's a lot of different ways that you can go through that. As you're matriculating through college, between your freshman, sophomore, and junior summers, you will be required to do some type of military training. That we call those summer cruises. They can last from anywhere from a few weeks to potentially up to a month. Specifically in my unique case, going from my freshman year to my sophomore year, I did about a month-long experience on the West Coast in San Diego. And that was actually my first time being exposed to aviation. And that's what kind of planted the seed with wanting me to pursue that as an option. Once I designated that I wanted to go aviation, my summer years, my junior and senior year, were more geared towards aviation. So once you identify what you want to do, they'll try to tailor your summer experiences to those type of experiences. And it's really just, it's a partnership. You want to see if the Navy's for you, and the Navy wants to make sure that you're a good fit for the Navy. So this is the amount currently for the monthly stipends, and just bear in mind, they're already receiving a full scholarship, so it may not look like a high amount, but it's pretty good for the parents or siblings that don't have to contribute to those who are already on the scholarship program. So for instance, you can be earning a full scholarship and then getting a monthly stipend while you're in school, still just earning your regular degree that you would have earned previously, and then you'll also receive a book stipend. Some of the schools will set up, like if somebody's in an engineering major, they'll just keep their books perhaps at the unit so that the next student who's an engineering major can use those books as well, just to kind of save costs. This page kind of lists some of the top programs and top schools that we have with NROTC programs, and there is a actual formal link that you can actually go to see all the schools which have NROTC programs. You can also just Google Naval NROTC programs, and it's the first link. As far as the eligibility requirements to apply for the program, our target audience is graduating high school seniors or up-and-coming juniors right before they go into their senior year. So typically, you have to be a U.S. citizen or in the process of obtaining your citizenship. have to be at least 17 years old. You must be a high school graduate with obviously stellar GPA. And with the NROTC program, just because you're awarded the scholarship, you still have to be accepted into the school. So I think it's more of a merit-based entity. So if you wanted to go to Berkeley, you still have to apply to Berkeley as a normal student, and then you would apply the NROTC program to that afterwards. These are the minimum requirements across the SAT and ACT. One thing I did want to make as a special note, the window for the fiscal year 2024 scholarship just opened up April 1st. So if you know anybody that would like to apply, please tell them to get in early. And typically they'll be informed 2 to 3 months after that. So if you're a junior, you're going to know early in your senior year if you got accepted. If you're a senior, you may have to wait a little bit, but they'll definitely try to notify you before you start the school year. As far as the physical requirements, I will tell you, we obviously would like for the individuals to be in shape. However, the actual requirement is just to pass a medical examination. And your final determination in terms of being a commissioned officer, it occurs when you're in college. So to kind of explain that, if you come in, let's say, out of shape, it's okay as long as you can pass your normal physical. And then once you get to college, they're going to work with you to get you in shape so that when you commission as an officer, you're in compliance. So don't think it's not a distractor if you're not qualified physically right now. It's just more so that you pass your examination, and then you'll get training to learn your physical requirements later on. This is an example of some of the academic requirements that members will have to accomplish while they're in the program. From what I can recall a few years back, we would go to school, and basically the portal would open up for the classes. We always have the first opportunity to select our classes because of our rigorous schedule. So it was actually kind of a benefit for us at my school. And then we would take one military science class a quarter or a semester, depending on how you guys define it. So when I finished at Morehouse, I actually have a minor in military science. So it's just how the program works. And it's a substitute. If some of you guys may have heard of Officer Candidate School, if you're going through NROTC, you don't have to take Officer Candidate School because of all the classes you're taking throughout your matriculation. As far as the military service obligation, it is contingent upon the specific program that you are interested in. Most of the programs are a 5-year or 4-year commitment, with the exception of aviation having an 8-year commitment. So with that being said, just to kind of repeat it, you would graduate. If you wanted to go surface warfare, it's a 5-year commitment. You'll do that for 5 years, and there's no other obligation you have to the military. I believe the nurse corps is 4 years, but sorry, I'd have to fact check that. But most of the programs are 4 or 5, and once you commission, you just go right into the fleet and you start earning some money. So when you commission into the Navy, our first officer rank is 01, also known as an ensign. We formerly call it a butter bar. And this is just an example of somebody who's earning a stipend in San Diego. As you know, San Diego is a very high probability location to be stationed with the Navy. So as your base pay as an ensign, so a little bit over $3,600. We're going to get a monthly food allowance and a monthly housing stipend. And that comes up roughly to $7,000. Please bear in mind, this is net amount that we're talking about. So as a 22-year-old individual already having their college paid for with a 4-year, 5-year commitment, you're going to be starting out roughly $86,000 a year if you're stationed, in this example, in San Diego. One thing that we will talk about later on is some of the military benefits, such as the VA benefits, as well as the post 9/11 GI Bill, and things of that nature. So I put this slide up here just to kind of give a comparison. Our pay is pretty self-explanatory, but sometimes I know it's confusing for a lot of people who are not in the military. So this is just one example that we spoke about earlier versus gross versus net. So for that individual in the military in San Diego who's earning roughly $86,000, that's equivalent to somebody in the civilian sector earning about $128,000, just based on how they do our taxes and various different things. In addition, on the bottom left, sorry, the print's a little small. As all military members, if they have dependents, they're going to have health care, dental, as well as a housing stipend allowance. Just a quick summary in terms of some of the military benefits that members are entitled to that I personally have used myself. The VA housing loan is very powerful. You have that. It's usually after 3 years of active duty service, and you always have that. So you can do your 4-year commitment, say, hey, I'm no longer would like to serve, and you can exercise that benefit later on. The benefit of that is that you're able to go to a bank, say I would like to apply my VA benefits. It's going to be 0 PMI, and usually 0 interest down, but there is some funding fee that is usually associated with it. So it allows you to have purchasing power without necessarily having a down payment to get a home. So it's just one example. And then the other benefit is a post 9/11 GI Bill, which is usually used for more education. The individual, the sailor in this particular case, always has that benefit. But if they were interested in transferring that benefit to their spouse or their dependents, they do have to serve usually 6 years in order to meet that transfer requirement. However, if it's just going to be used specifically for the sailor, they only have to be in for 3 years. So in that scenario, individual can go serve in the military after 3 years or 4 years and their commitment's done, and they would like to go to law school or anything like that, they can go there, and it's 100% paid for public schools. For private schools, there's usually a cap. So in this instance, it's a very popular thing that a lot of people do as well. So the application period, just because you're applying, you're not signing any formal document saying that you're obligated to serve. One thing that is very unique about the NROTC program is that your first year in the program is optional. So you come in, it's really an internship. I mean, you're just seeing if you like it, if it's a fit for you. If you decide after your first year, hey, I don't necessarily would like to pursue this scholarship, there's no money that you have to get back to the military. You got 1 year paid for from college. Hopefully you had a good experience, and then you just go about your way. Or in my instance, you go in for the first year, you like it, and then you end up saying, hey, sophomore year, I'm going to sign this contract and hopefully get aviation. But it's really just a partnership, making sure that people are getting what they would like to get out of the program, and not necessarily just signing a blind contract without knowing what the program's about. Just kind of a quick breeze in terms of how you can start the process, apply, and obtain various things. As you're going through the process, we have counselors in the area that will walk through people that are interested, and we'll meet you at the school or in your house with the parental approval. They'll sign all the different forms and kind of go through the different matrix. These are the various things that go into the application package, which you can find this online as well. Obviously the big one being ACT, SAT, letters of recommendation, things of that nature. Just a few key things for people who are looking for a strong competitive profile. Obviously, why do you want to do this? Your personal statement, personal summary, being in leadership roles in school, team captains, cross-country captain, things of that nature, community service. So it's not necessarily always about the GPA. They try to look at the whole person concept and try to look at you as a future leader in the Navy. So we're looking at a lot of different other things that your son or daughter or maybe one of your friends are doing also in the community. And that pretty much concludes my brief today. I did put the contact information down for our lead recruiter who deals with this program, NC1 Jung. If you have any questions, I'll leave my contact information with Mr. Ron Young, and you can reach out to me as well. Thank you for your time and attention.
Great, thank you. Yeah, good, perfect, have a seat. Karlton, great, glad you're here. So, got to ask about the metrics.
Okay.
How many people are currently in the Navy?
I do not know that number.
Ballpark.
I honestly, I have to use ChatGPT or Google on that one. I'm so sorry.
How many do you try to recruit in a given year?
So, as an officer recruiter, this program today was more so geared towards NROTC. So our quota for NROTC this past fiscal year was 68, and we were able to obtain 92. Now, it's an application-based quota, so of those 92, we had roughly 50 that were accepted, and then of those 50, 20 said they would like to proceed with actually accepting the scholarship.
And that's in your region? That's
Yeah.
in this area?
Correct.
And how many regions like this does the Navy have around the country?
26 different districts.
Okay, so you're in your district, those are the metrics. So we multiply that by 26 or so to get to the number they're joining?
You know,
Sounds like that's just a few thousand. In
Yeah.
other words, if you're 90 something and we say 10 times that's 1,000, 2 times that, so that's a couple thousand. Huh. Is our Navy getting smaller? Is our Navy holding its same force count?
That's a force metric that I do not actually know the data on.
Okay.
I just don't want to be misleading to you, but I
Sure.
can definitely follow back with you and let you know. But as far as the recruiting force, obviously there's a lot of different things that have happened previously, COVID, things like that. A lot of people are still interested in serving, and we're trying to tap into those market and reach out to those individuals and just try to reach out to them.
So one of the wonderful distinctions between a lieutenant commander in the Navy and a typical politician, when our speaker today doesn't know the answer, he says, "I don't know the answer." That's quite a wonderful distinction. So what percent of your recruits are female and what percent are male?
Well, we have two different teams. Okay, so there's the enlisted team that's primarily targeting our high school demographics. And then you have the collegiate team or the officer team, which is going after people who already have degrees. On our team, we have roughly 8 officers, and of those 8, 1 is a female.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the percentage that are minorities?
Now I think about it, about 6 of us I would say, are minorities, Asian, Hispanic.
6 of what percent?
Of 8 in terms of my team.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. When you go speak to a young candidate that's in your target, that is to say they're active, they've got extracurriculums, they demonstrate leadership capacity, they're physically active. Give me a profile of what you consider to be an excellent candidate.
So I just want to make sure we're speaking on the same terms. So I have the team that is looking at the kid who's interested in going to college, and we have also a team who individual may want to go to enlisted. Mm-hmm. So I'll answer your question, but it kind of depends on the information. So if the individual expresses an interest and a desire to go to college, we're definitely going to try to partner them up with the NROTC coordinator, work with them and their family to see, hey, what school did you already want to go to? How is mom and dad going to pay for the school? Can the Navy come in to maybe perhaps assist you with getting there? If the individual has a desire to no longer pursue college, or just, hey, my father did this, my mom did this, is the route I want to go, we will come in what's called the ASVAP, which is an aptitude test, and that will basically break down what they qualify for. So we're really big in trying to match people up with what they would like to do. However, they do have to qualify for it. So if they come in with a very good ASVAP score, we're definitely going to talk to them about whatever programs that they qualify for. If they come in saying, I would like to become a nurse or an HM or a corpsman, but they don't meet those grades, we may give them a roadmap to keep studying until you hit this metric. So we try to give them a way forward while also working with their aptitude and just kind of going from there.
I'm going to keep asking questions, but if anybody has a question, just raise your hand. We'll bring you a mic. So within the Navy, what percent of the force are surface? What percent are submariners? What percent are flyers?
I have to go back to the I don't know answer, just to be honest with you.
That's the honest answer. We like the honest answer.
I do know one statistic, and it's not interesting fact, is the Navy has more aviators than some of our sister services. So sometimes some people mistakenly think, oh, he's Air Force or this, that, because I fly. But the reality is because of our ships, our shore base aviation squadrons, things of that nature, we have a bigger impact in aviation on that specific.
And I see the wings there on your uniform. Talk to us about flight school. What was that like?
Rigorous, very, very, very rigorous. College was great. I enjoyed Morehouse College. I was a psychology major. One of the things about my academic, I would say, growth in college was that I was taught to look at things as interdisciplinary. So you see this in one person, see that in another, you kind of overlap it. But flight school is not like that. It's very, this is the oil system, this is the hydraulic system. You do not overlap the two. So for me, aviation school was fun in some respects to learn a different way of thinking. However, it's a very high standard, and you just do your best to keep progressing. You work with people who look like you, who don't look like you, and you're just trying to do the best you can to pass the next flight and just stay in the fight.
John, you have a camera ready? We have a question over here. Yes, Bruce. Staff Commodore Bruce
So-
Monroe's got a question.
This is a comment and a question for our Lieutenant Commander. First of all, I'd say thank you for coming and talking to us. I once wore the same uniform you have on, albeit with one fewer stripe. When I retired, I was 3 years in active duty, but where I went to college, they did not have Navy ROTC. So I got my commission through the ROC program. I wonder, does the Navy still have that program?
Mr. Bruce, can you elaborate on what the ROC program is? I'm unfamiliar with that.
ROC program, while you were a student in college, you enlisted in the Navy Reserve and went to a local reserve base once a month. And then for 2 summers, the summer after your junior year and the summer after you graduated, I went to Newport, Rhode Island, to the Officer Candidate School. At the end of the second summer, after you had graduated, you got your commission. That's the ROC stands for Reserve Officer Candidate, and that's how it worked. This was long ago, obviously, but I just wonder if the Navy still has that program.
And I've been correct, it's Mr. Monroe. Yes, sir. I would say a similar program that we offer, and I have to look on my phone to kind of cheat a little bit, but I believe it's called BDOC, and it's more so specifically targeted towards individuals who are at junior colleges who may not be associated with a 4-year university or 4-year college, and or people who are in a location that is just so far away from a Berkeley or another NROTC unit. They're able to go in, I believe is an E5, and then they have a different set of metrics so that they're actually meeting their requirements to still commission on time.
Okay, thank you for that. And one thing I would, as my comment is, when you get to be my age, then you know the Navy and all the military has the VA. And I get all my medical service now at the VA, which is very, very good medically, at least here in San Francisco. And the bad press the VA gets these days, I don't experience. Yes, it is government bureaucracy, but once you get past that, the medical service I've gotten, it's the best benefit I've ever gotten from being my 3 years on active duty in the Navy, and I wouldn't undersell that in your recruiting effort, even though high school kids are not thinking about the VA when they're past 65. I know that's a hard sell, but it's true.
I'll keep that in mind.
Thanks, Commodore Monroe.
Thank you, sir.
We have another question from the audience. Forrest has a question. Forrest Booth, thoughtful attorney and Navy man.
Thank you. Just a ballpark estimate, if you could, Commander. What is the percentage of young ensigns coming into the Navy from the Academy, from OCS, and from NROTC? Do you have even a ballpark guess on that?
I can't give you an answer on that right now.
Ballpark.
But I honestly don't know the ballpark. With our scope of responsibilities, we're only seeing it from the recruiting standpoint, but I also understand there's State 21, individuals who are enlisted going into officer. I know there's OCS. There's a lot of different avenues that you can use to become a commissioned officer. I will tell you, my next job in the Navy, I will be working with that type of data. I can definitely try to follow up with you and see if I can preview some of that information. Yeah.
So, in your recruiting activities, what kind of outbound marketing materials or mechanisms or techniques do you use? Do you guys use email? Do you use outbound social media? Do you use how do you market to young target audience?
We have a lot of different avenues. We have a Salesforce team. We have an e-talent team. We have Instagram page. In addition to what we call national leads, so people will call the 1-800-NAVY number. It feeds into our system, and then we just kind of connect with them. We have partnerships such as the Navy League and things like that. Obviously, we'll contact Berkeley. They'll say, hey, we're having an event to talk about nuclear engineering, and we'd love to have your team come out. So there's a lot of host of different things that we're doing out here, specifically just to increase community awareness, talk about the Navy, and then hopefully that will lead to some people that are interested in joining the Navy, and we can just partner up with some of our individuals.
In your case, how many people in your team meet with high schools? I mean, how often do you meet with high school students? Do you go to a particular high school and have appointments set up? How do you do it?
We challenge the team to go into the schools as much as possible. We have quotas that we would like to hold them to, but the reality is if the school's not open or if there's not a fair or the fair gets canceled, we just want them to try to go to the schools, meet with those counselors, go to different fairs, set up booths, and just try to, just be infiltrated in the schools as much as possible. And same thing with the colleges. We look at the college calendars. We reach out to the people that are leading these events and see if we can set up a booth, and then we just kind of go out there and just increase Navy awareness.
Do you meet with more high schools or colleges?
Definitely high schools, because of the way the goaling model is set up. And it's just a majority. The larger percentage of our force is younger, and they're in high schools. So it's definitely the high schools, but we do the best we can with the colleges as well.
Okay, so boot camp. Lots have been spoken in the media lately about making boot camp less rigorous. What's the skinny? How tough is boot camp these days?
I have to admit, I've never been. But I do know, I believe they extended boot camp, and it was to add a 2-week period where you're talking to the individuals a little bit now before actually going into the rigors of boot camp. And from my understanding, that reflected the same graduation rate previously. So it's been a good addition. I believe that was in response to COVID and the ROM period where people had to just basically go to boot camp, wait 2 weeks, make sure that they were not, having any ramifications. But in response to when COVID subsidized, they still kept that 2-week period because it was actually impacting and helping the youth, the future youth and future sailors of our nation be more prepared.
So when you recruit a new candidate, how long do they usually serve in the service?
I'll get that back to you. I know that, I don't know, to be honest with you.
And what's a full term if they've served a full term in the service?
Well, I'm sorry, I'll go back and answer your previous question. If we're talking enlisted, most of the contracts are going to be anywhere from 3 to 4 years. Some of them are 2, depending on the qualifications and the needs of the Navy. If you're talking officers, most of the contracts are usually 4 to 5 years in terms of the obligation. And then it's up to them as far as a personal choice in terms of what they would like to do after that.
And so if a candidate qualifies for a scholarship and then they get to pick their school, what freedom do they have to select the school they want?
It's 100% their freedom. So you'll apply to the NROTC scholarship. The scholarship will say, hey, we deem this person worthy of, earning or using some of our government funds and basically awarding them an NROTC scholarship. But you still have to apply to the school. So if you get into a Stanford or Yale or Berkeley or Morehouse, whatever the case may be, then you apply, and that's when the scholars mirrored up. I'm sure there's some quotas in terms of everybody trying to go to one school. So you usually will list your top 5 rankings, and then the Navy will offer, hey, this is where we would like to offer your scholarship back to.
So let me see if I get this right. If a young candidate applies for a scholarship and you grant it, and then he or she thereafter gets into an expensive school, you guys will still foot the bill?
Correct.
Wonderful.
Now, their obligations obviously to show up, on time in uniform to various classes, still, show up for PT or physical training, and just show up to the classes and do the work. But it's not a bad trade-off if that's something that you're looking for. I know that NROTC it's just an option. There's other ways that people pay for school, but we just want the people to be aware that this is an option that they can use.
If we were to survey candidates who say yes and who join the Navy based on your recruiting efforts, what are the things that they like? Why are they saying yes? Give us the top 3 reasons they said yes.
Travel is probably the most common one that I hear in terms of I just want to see the world. The other one's being challenged. Perhaps they would like to go to Navy aviation because of Top Gun and maybe trying to become a test pilot, things of that nature. And then the third one, it really just kind of varies, but I would say family. A lot of our people that are serving now, it's their mom or dad or their uncle, somebody served, and they just want to kind of make them happy. So I envision some of those things changing once they're in the service, perhaps learning about the VA or some of the other benefits. But initially, a lot of people you meet will just say, I just want to travel.
And what are the top 3 reasons they're going to say no?
A lot of times people are unaware of the Navy. So it's like, I don't want to do Navy. And we kind of just meet them there, and we respect that. I don't know if I would necessarily put in a top 3, but I've heard that before. The commitment is another one. Sometimes, 18, 19-year-old kid, and they really want to be a pilot. And then when I tell them, hey, it's an 8-year commitment, it really shies away a lot of kids. And then we think that we're offering a very competitive package, but some people will say, hey, I have a job offer, over here. I want to go with that option. And we just respect that, and we just say, okay. But those are some of the reasons I've heard why some people will turn down the scholarship.
So now you went to flight school. What kind of planes have you flown?
I've flown a few different planes. Started off in a Cessna 172. It's a very small prop aircraft with no air conditioning. I was a little hot on that plane. From there, I went to a T-34 Charlie Beach Mentor, which is a turboprop. It goes about 200 knots, and that has since been sunned down. So no longer flying that in the military. From there, I went to what's called a TC-12 Bravo, which is a King Air 200, 2 engines. They usually fly 300 to 400 nautical miles, somewhere around there. That was a really fun plane. And then from there, that's when I got my wings, and I learned how to fly what's called a P-3C Orion. That plane is no longer flying, so I've flown a lot of planes that are a lot older than me and no longer in service. But from there, I went to the P-8 Alpha, which is a very new aircraft. They're still manufacturing it. I believe Boeing got the contract in 2010, and the Navy has loved that plane. It's a 737-800 series. The wings are a little bit modified for the Navy's usage, and the tube's a little different, of course. But a highly automated plane, can fly very well, and I think that's going to be in service for a very long time.
Mm-hmm. And so what's the post-service career in aviation for Navy pilots?
A lot of people go matriculate to the airlines. A lot. Another career could be an instructor, perhaps as an instructor locally. And then a lot of people will use their benefits. They'll get a master's, things like that, and some will say, hey, aviation's not for me no more. Some will go to law school. So I would say the majority are going to go continue flying, but it really depends on the individual and what they want to do with their family.
Now, you mentioned salary. I was impressed that the military is paying people something closer to market rates than I recalled. So review again, and these are net numbers. So essentially, a person who finishes, goes to flight school, and is serving in the military, how are we paying those folks? And I get the benefits are a full benefit package, but it sounded to me like you're paying people like $120,000 a year or something in terms of their comp.
So what I've learned is our pay is public. You can Google it and see what we earn. It is taxpayers that are paying our dollars. It's just a certain percentage or certain sections of our paycheck are not taxed. Mm-hmm. And so when you look at it from a civilian standpoint, I think it's a fair comparison. However, it just gets confusing, So some of our check is taxed, some of it's not. But to your point, being in flight school, not having no debt from college, and then being compensated for your work, it definitely felt good.
So if you were to answer to a young person who had questions about joining the military, and they said, so tell us your own experience, Karlton. Why do you like being in the Navy? What would you say?
Well, I always try to tell people, what do you want to do? Okay? So if they're saying I want to go to college, then I can definitely talk to them about my college experience and things like that. If that leads to a conversation where now we're talking about the Navy and they ask me that question, then I'll tell them, for me, my dad and my mom served in the Navy, so I kind of saw it as a natural step for myself. Yes, the commitment is long, but I look at it like it's so cool to fly in the Navy, to have that skill set. If I would like to go to the civilian sector, that's definitely an option. So I just try to make it what do you want to do, and let's just meet half ground. But I try not to force it on them. I just try to see what they want to do and just try to go from there. But it's been a good experience so far. My wife and I are enjoying it, and I feel like I've been stationed in some really good locations, so it's been blessed.
So now, the Wednesday Yachting Luncheon Committee has added some members from the Navy League to our committee, which is how we found Karlton and several of the other high-ranking military spokespeople we've had as guests at the Wednesday Yachting Luncheon. And so you are really lucking out today because there's going to a gift to come to you from the Navy League. So we'd like to bring up Angus Blackwood, who is the president of the Navy League, to give you a little gift in appreciation for your time on the stage up here. So thank you, Karlton, for your service. And drink this. Angus, thanks, buddy. Thanks for bringing us another good speaker.
Always a pleasure, Ron.
Thanks, buddy. This is Angus Blackwood, you guys. We want to thank Angus and the Navy League for bringing us good speakers. So, Karlton, you're an exemplary spokesperson for the Navy, and I wish you all the best of good fortune in recruiting really great candidates to the Navy. We need a powerful, strong military for our country. John, we have another question?
You ever do any carrier landings?
I have not. With my aircraft, it's too large to land on a carrier. We can joke and say I've done one in a simulator, but that's about it. But thank you for asking.
So we want to thank you very much, Karlton. It was great to have you speak on behalf of the Navy. Thanks so much. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And that adjourns the Wednesday Yachting Luncheon. Great, buddy.
No worries.
You know here, Angus.